Peter Chan jailed for 12 years in will forgery case. Government plans to take back the Fanling golf course. And supporters of ousted Egyptian president call for new protests.
Good evening. Businessman Peter Chan was today jailed for 12 years for forging the late tycoon Nina Wong's will. In sentencing, the judge said what Chan did was shameless and wicked. He also called it the worst case of its kind. Evelina Leung has our top story tonight.
The wife of Peter Chan, as well as other family members and friends, were swarmed by the media outside the High Court today. The businessman, formerly known as Tony Chan, was last night found guilty by the jury of forgery and using a false instrument. In sentencing today, Justice Andrew McRae described it as a story of unbelievable greed and the worst case of its kind. The judge said Chan took advantage of Wang's sadness, loneliness, and tragic life and lied to her, claiming he would be able to find her kidnapped husband and change her misfortune. Trusting and believing him, Wang gave him more than $3 billion during her lifetime, an amount the judge said most people would have been more than satisfied with, but not Chan, who wanted Wang's entire estate worth an estimated $83 billion. The judge also said based on the evidence, it was clear that the late tycoon wanted her estate to go to the charity dear to her heart and did not want Chan to be the sole heir to her fortune. If Chan had succeeded with his plan, he would have deprived the Chinacam Charitable Foundation of what it was entitled to. What the defendant did, the judge stated, was shameless, wicked, of unparalleled greed, and ruined Wang's reputation. The maximum sentence for both charges is 14 years imprisonment. However, the judge said he took into consideration that Chan's legal team streamlined the case and the trial wrapped up much earlier than expected. Because of his decision not to take the witness stand, as well as recent changes in Chan's life, such as embracing Christianity, he was jailed for 12 years. The police called the sentence fair.
The 3rd of February 2010, we arrest the culprit, and today, after a lapse of 3 years, 5 months, we saw yesterday the court convict the culprit, and today the court passed the relevant sentences to the culprit. This shows that no matter how long we take, the Hong Kong judicial system will ensure that any culprit will be subject to the great hand of justice.
Evelina Leung, TVB News.
The government may take back the land that's currently held by the Fanling golf course. Secretary for Development Paul Chan says the plot may be included in future plans to redevelop the Northeast New Territories. The revisited plans will develop 333 hectares of land in Kwu Tung North and Fanling North, but drop a third plot originally earmarked. What's also excluded from development for now is an exclusive golf club in Kwu Tung South that spans 170 hectares, the equivalent of 9 Victoria Parks. Local residents were furious at yesterday's announcement, accusing the government of pandering to the rich. Today, the Secretary for Development said the government is looking at that plot of land too.
We must acknowledge the golf course was established in the 30s. In the history of Hong Kong's sports, it has a role to play. But I agree that with the change of time, perhaps there's room for a review.
He said the club's lease ends in 2020, but pointed out that the Development Bureau will take part in a Home Affairs Department review of all private recreational club leases. Chan said even if the golf course is taken back for development, that's no substitute to plans to provide housing in the medium term.
Given the size of that piece of land, over 100 hectares, it will entail environmental assessment, technical assessments such as drainage, water supply, as well as planning. In terms of planning how to make the best use of this piece of land, all this together easily will take a few years.
Chan said the government will consider including the golf course in the next stage of plans to redevelop the Northeast New Territories. But villagers say they've neither seen nor heard anything about a possible study and asked how they're expected to have discussions while they're being kept in the dark. Former legislator Lee Wing-tat, who now heads the land and housing policy concern group Landwatch, said the government owns the piece of land and only needs 12 months' notice to take it back. He said Chan's stance shows the government is scared of influential property developers.
China and Russia kicked off their largest ever joint naval drills in the Sea of Japan today. They involve 18 surface ships, 1 submarine, 3 airplanes and 5 helicopters. The manoeuvres, which run through next Friday, will cover anti-submarine warfare and the simulated takeover of an enemy ship. The drills are considerably bigger than anything China's undertaken with a foreign partner and represent a further sign of cooperation between Beijing and Moscow.
In Egypt, hundreds of thousands of people celebrated for the second night in a row following the military ouster of President Mohamed Morsi. But the situation has world powers urging Egypt's armed forces to quickly call an election in order to restore democracy. Morsi's supporters, meanwhile, are planning new protests denouncing his ouster. Alan Booknear has more.
Egypt's Air Force staged a flypast over Cairo in a vivid reminder of the military's role in removing Mohamed Morsi from power. But the international community has expressed grave concerns over the change in leadership in Egypt. Many are being careful not to call it a coup, which would involve sanctions against the country.
Egypt is an important partner for NATO through the Mediterranean dialogue. And Egypt is a vital actor in the Middle East. So we are following the situation closely. I call on everyone to exercise restraint and refrain from violence.
In the U.S., President Barack Obama met with his top advisors and acknowledged the legitimate grievances of the Egyptian people. Obama was also careful not to call it a coup, which would mean cutting off the $1.5 billion in annual aid to Egypt. Egypt's foreign minister, Mohammed Kamal Amr, who had distanced himself from Morsi, said he spoke with U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry over the phone.
The American side is a strategic partner to Egypt, and the welfare of Egypt is important to them. And I hope that they will read the situation in the right way, that this is not a military coup in any way. This was actually the overwhelming will of the people.
Meanwhile, violent clashes between pro- and anti-Morsi demonstrators continued, with dozens reportedly killed. The army was called into Morsi's hometown after more than 80 people were injured in fighting there. Members of Morsi's Muslim Brotherhood held a news conference to denounce his ouster as an illegal coup that damaged the democratic process. They also expressed anger over the detention of not only Morsi, but many of the Muslim Brotherhood's leading members. The group said it would not work with the country's new leadership. Alan Booknear, TVB News.
Bolivian President Evo Morales has threatened to close the U.S. embassy in his country after his plane was forced to make a diversion in Europe. There were suspicions U.S. whistleblower Edward Snowden was being smuggled out of Russia on his plane. Still, Snowden's bid to expose secret spying programs appears to be catching on, with one of France's leading newspapers now joining in to blow the lid off the country's surveillance efforts. Demonstrators outside the U.S. consulate in the Bolivian city of Santa Cruz made it loud and clear they blame America for the diversion of President Evo Morales' plane, which was forced to land in Austria while flying through European airspace this week. They pelted the U.S. compound with paint bombs and burned American flags to vent their anger. Morales is angry too, demanding an explanation from European countries who refused his plane passage while threatening to close the U.S. embassy in his country. Morales was returning from a summit in Moscow, and his plane was forced to land over unfounded suspicions it had the U.S. whistleblower fugitive Edward Snowden on board. Other South American leaders have offered Morales support, denouncing his treatment as a violation of national sovereignty. France, one of several European countries which refused Morales' passage, has apologised, blaming the incident on conflicting information. While Snowden presumably remains stuck in limbo inside a Moscow airport, his work to embolden others to expose secret government spying programmes appears to be catching on. One of France's leading newspapers says the French Foreign Intelligence Agency systematically collects information about all electronic data sent by computers and phones in the nation. It also collects a similar volume of data on communication sent between France and other countries. According to Le Monde, all emails, text messages, phone calls and posts on social media sites are stored in a massive 3-floor underground bunker at the spy agency's Paris headquarters. And what about Snowden's fate? Well, yesterday, Russia's deputy foreign minister said the Americans should find another country to seek refuge in soon. Many have so far been reluctant to take him, but Snowden could yet be saved by Iceland after lawmakers there introduced a proposal to grant him citizenship. But that too needs the overall support of Iceland's parliament.
British police now have new leads in the case involving missing girl Madeleine McCann. Authorities say they have identified 38 persons of interest, 12 of them British nationals, and they believe the missing girl may still be alive.
There is no clear definitive proof that Madeleine McCann is dead. And so on that basis, I still genuinely believe that there is a possibility that she's alive. And so I would ask the public to continue to look for her.
Madeleine went missing during a family trip to Portugal in May 2007, just days before her 4th birthday. British police launched a review of the case 2 years ago, and they're now shifting to investigation. In Peru, thousands of students and civil servants clashed with police in a protest against reforms that would set higher standards for universities and bureaucrats. The demonstration turned violent when the protesters tried to move through the center of the capital, Lima, towards the National Congress. Battered by tear gas and water cannon, the students say the proposed changes will take away the autonomy of universities, and civil servants are worried that many will lose their jobs. President Ollanta Humala proposed the new laws, which he says will improve the quality of sluggish government services and a lagging higher education system.
Elsewhere in Latin America, flights in and out of Mexico City were either delayed or cancelled after a nearby volcano started spewing ash, steam and rock into the air. At least 6 U.S. airlines cancelled flights to and from Mexico's capital. While no ash reached the airport, residents in the city's southern districts reported a thin coat of dust and debris from the volcano. Authorities registered several tremors at the foot of the volcano, which has been letting it rip for the last 24 hours. The volcano is situated halfway between Mexico City and the city of Puebla. And still ahead in the news tonight, police chase in Sha Tin ends in arrest. Raising the red flag at the German Grand Prix. And Lady Liberty is all smiles on the 4th of July.
Welcome back. A man has been arrested after police accused him of trying to ram into officers chasing his car. According to the police, officers spotted this car with an expired warranty while they were testing an automatic license identification system in Sha Tin at around 11 this morning. They gave chase for 20 minutes until the vehicle stopped on Wu Liu Hang Road. Officers tried to get the driver to step out of his car, but instead he tried to ram into them. The police said he stopped when the officers pulled out their guns. And one of the 4 driving licenses found in the vehicle did not belong to the driver. He was arrested on suspicion of carrying stolen documents, driving with a suspended license, and driving without third-party insurance and a valid warranty.
The MTR Corporation angered workers today by announcing pay rises ranging from 2.2% to 6.5%. Unions are demanding an increase of at least 8% and say they are now considering whether to take industrial action. Jar De Silva has more.
disappointment. That was the feeling expressed by members of 7 MTR unions after hearing from company executives that their salaries would rise by an average of 5% this year. They have been demanding an 8% increase, almost double last year's inflation rate.
This year, all the non-management staff salary increase is only 5.2%. I think it's a lot of good announcement. We feel disappointed.
Workers say the mechanism MTR Corporation has in place to assess pay increases according to performance is not fair. The railway giant said recently that it annually reviews salaries by analysing pay trends at 20 leading local companies, as well as the economic outlook, staff contributions and company performance.
Despite posting significant profits, MTR's pay rise offer once again falls below staff expectations, a situation that union leaders say could trigger them to step up action.
We are now discussing whether industrial action. We hope it won't affect the public.
Union representatives say they will consult with other MTR workers before deciding what to do next. João da Silva, TVB News.
The Town Planning Board has asked a developer to come up with new plans for a building project in North Point after opposition from residents. Residents say the current proposal will spoil their view of the harbour, block out the sun and prevent air from circulating properly. Rani Samtani has more.
Residents are furious at proposed plans for 10 high-rise buildings in North Point. The new development will essentially create a wall of buildings which will block the view of current residents living along Java Road. They say that the original plan they were shown in 2009 is completely different to the one given to the Town Planning Board this year. More than 1,200 North Point residents signed a petition urging the board to reject the plan at today's Town Planning Board meeting. It's asked the developer to go back to the drawing board.
Originally, there were supposed to be about 4 buildings, and now there are 10 buildings in a row, basically blocking off the view of the harbour, causing serious health and environmental concerns of the residents. North Point residents were taken by surprise by the new design.
Residents here are concerned that the new development will not only obstruct the flow of fresh air, but it will also block sunlight. They are calling on the Town Planning Board to scrap the plan completely. The original blueprint outlined plans for 4 blocks with 10 to 12 meters between each tower. But the property developer which won the bid for the project came up with a different version which is more intensive. The new plan shows 10 buildings with a 6-meter gap between each tower. By adding more buildings, ventilation in the neighborhood will be limited because of the density of the blocks. Rani Samtani, TVB News.
Right, Tony, what excitement do you have for us in sports?
Well, we've got motorsports. There's a lot of controversy brewing over tyres and whether they're actually safe or not, and it still hasn't been resolved. Drama at this weekend's German Grand Prix. Drivers have threatened to boycott the race if they experience the same tyre problems that plagued last weekend's Grand Prix at Silverstone. Jameson Wong reports.
5 drivers suffered blowouts at last weekend's British Grand Prix. Pirelli has made changes to its tires and guaranteed the problem's been fixed. In 2005, 7 teams pulled out of the U.S. Grand Prix over tire safety issues.
I think, first of all, it's good that within not even a week time, we were able to get a different tire for this race, which hopefully is safer for all of us. Obviously, the last race, I think, was not what we want and not satisfactory. So yeah, I think it's good that we have a new tire here. How much better and how different it will be, it's difficult to judge at this stage, but I'm confident it's a step forward.
Football and former Shanghai Shenhua player Nicolas Anelka has joined English Premier side West Brom on a 1-year deal. The 34-year-old Frenchman spent the end of last season with Italian side Juventus after leaving the Chinese Super League. And American Tyson Gay won the 100 meters at the Diamond League meet in Switzerland. Gay clocked a 9.79 to beat Jamaican Asafa Powell, who ran the race in 9.88 seconds. World record holder Usain Bolt skipped the event. The World Championships are next month in Moscow. Jameson Wong, TVB News.
On to tennis now. Germany's Sabine Lisicki will play Marion Bartoli of France in Saturday's Wimbledon women's final. Lisicki came back from 3-love down in the final set to beat 4th seed Agnieszka Radwanska in the decider 9-7. The 23-year-old is the first German to reach the final at the All England club since Steffi Graf in 1999. Meanwhile, Bartoli will be playing in her second final. She swept past Kirsten Flipkens of Belgium in straight sets. 6 years ago, Bartoli lost out on the title to American Venus Williams. In baseball, another walk-off home run to show you. Adam Dunn went deep with one out in the bottom of the ninth to win it for the Chicago White Sox over the Baltimore Orioles 3-2. Dunn has been swinging a hot bat with 10 homers in his last 23 games.
And finally for tonight, there was a usual spread of food-eating contests, parades, speeches by politicians and fireworks as the United States celebrated its Independence Day yesterday.
That's right, but the highlight of this year's July 4th celebrations was no doubt the reopening of the Statue of Liberty in New York.
It was only fitting that one of America's most iconic spots was open to visitors again on the 4th of July, the day the US celebrates its Independence Day. After Superstorm Sandy swamped Liberty Island in New York last autumn, the Statue of Liberty and its surroundings was closed for repair work. But yesterday, a large crowd gathered for its reopening, with New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg and federal officials presiding over the colourful ceremony. On Coney Island, crowds were entertained with the 98th edition of the annual Nathan's Famous 4th of July International Hot Dog Eating Contest. Joey Chestnut successfully defended his men's title by downing 69 frankfurters and buns in 10 minutes to win his 7th crown in a row. Sonia Thomas was also a winner, successfully defending her crown to share the glory. In the US Capitol, President Barack Obama and his family thanked American servicemen and women for their sacrifice.
Defending our nation and our freedoms with strength and with sacrifice is your daily charge, and it's the charge of all of us. It's the charge of all who serve worldwide, including our troops that are still in harm's way and their families back home. They serve too, and so we think of them, we pray for them, and on behalf of all Americans, I want to say thank you and wish you all a very, very happy 4th of July.
And of course, it wouldn't be a 4th of July holiday without fireworks. As people winded down from a day of festivities, picnics and fun, the night sky erupted in a blaze of red, white and blue for all to see.
And that's the news for tonight.
Good night.
Good evening. It was mainly fine and very hot today. At 5 p.m., an active southerly airstream brought showers to the northern part of the South China Sea. Today's temperatures range from 27.6 to 33 degrees, and the relative humidity was between 52 to 84%. Moderate south to southwesterly winds. The temperature now is standing at 30.3 degrees Celsius with the relative humidity at 65%. So, Freddie, how's the weather tomorrow?
Oh.
Mainly cloudy with a few showers tomorrow. Temperatures will range from 28 to 31 degrees. Expect scattered showers in the following few days. Tomorrow's API is forecast at 10 to 70, and the air pollution level will range from low to high. The maximum UV index forecast for tomorrow will be about 9. And now to the latest global weather update. Showers in Shanghai and Taipei, cloudy in Xiamen. Showers in Guangzhou, bright in Macau, cloudy in Chengdu. Cloudy in Beijing and Seoul, bright in Tokyo. Thunderstorms in Bangkok, rain in Ho Chi Minh City and Manila. Bright in Kuala Lumpur, showers in Singapore, rain in Jakarta. Thunderstorms in New Delhi, rain in Karachi and Mumbai. Sunny in Cairo, bright in Nairobi. Sunny in Brisbane and Sydney, showers in Melbourne, bright in Auckland. Cloudy in Toronto, bright in New York. Sunny in Vancouver, bright in San Francisco and Los Angeles. Sunny in London, Paris, Amsterdam and Zurich, bright in Frankfurt. That's the weather. Have a lovely evening.